Now, I don't know about y'all, but this seems like some pretty weak divine punishment to me. Before we hop into this review of Chapter 45 of Record of Ragnarok, please do me a favor and drop your own thoughts on the chapter in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, let's get into it. What's up guys, Zago the Pencil here, and here we are to review Chapter 45 of Record of Ragnarok, aka Zero's Grief, aka a pity party. Let's get into it. So basically, I'm gonna just do the quickest summary of this chapter because I actually want to talk about the contents of it in depth. Zero, we get him, introduction, the new fight's announced as Zero Fuku versus Buddha. Buddha is standing there ready up. We get a whole backstory on Zero Fuku. We see the fight begin and Buddha just casually kicks him in the stomach and bada bing, bada boom, chapter's over. Now that's a way shorter, less detailed summary of events, but I have a lot to talk about basically. So let's get into it. The thing I have to note first, I like Zero's flexibility. I don't know why. I think it's cool. I think it's a cool aspect. Like the whole bending his arms in all those weird ways and the way he twists his neck, all the stuff like that. It's very, very interesting. And I also like how he sort of yanks the axe out of nowhere. Like, hold on, let me see. Does he rip off part of himself? I think, yeah, he literally rips the axe out of his shoulder. And then bam, it's a massive bloody axe. I think it's very, very cool. Another thing I like to note is that even... well, actually, no. Before I note the cool thing, Heimdall has more Gleipnirs. Pardon me, not Gleipnirs. That's the thing that holds Fenrir. Gjallarhorn? Something of the lines. He has more horns. I don't like that. I thought he was just going to go without it. He just has a whole ton of spares on the backup, and like it removes all the hype of this being the Call of Ragnarok. I know this is basically just a petty tournament in the end made by the gods, but man, why does he have to have so many of them? Like he could have just had one spare, like the true Gjallarhorn. It kind of just sucks that he has so many. But regardless of that, we move on to see the two strap up, like they're ready. And here's the thing that I like. While Zero Fuku is all excited to get ready to fight Buddha, Buddha's just unfazed. He's really just chilling there. And obviously this matches Buddha's entire aesthetic up to this point where he just legitimately doesn't care about anything. But I think it's a really cool dichotomy where you have the Buddha just stanced up holding his weapon, hand on hip, ready to roll. And then you see Zero Fuku grinning, fist up, weapon wielded backwards. He's ready. He's good to go. And then you see Gear finally figure out, oh, Zero, like Zero that the one, I think it was Ebisu mentioned all those chapters ago. And technically, we learned that this was never a thing. Like, they were never actually a thing. Like, 100%, these were literally just Zero split up. And then we finally get the backstory to Zero. Because this Zero is their original form. He just happens to contain 7 other beings inside him for whatever reason. And I think the reasoning is very cool. But honestly, this is where the chapter does it sort of a disservice. Like, I guess I understand it. Here's the thing, what I like about Zero's backstory is the idea that he and Buddha stand on 2 lines in regards to humans. Zero thought, okay, if I heal the humans by just taking away their pain, taking away their grief, they'll be happy, we'll be good to go, perfect. Buddha's like, nah, that's not how we do things, bruh. We need to let their happiness go away naturally by just being happy. Like, they need to figure it out on their own. If you do it for them, they aren't going to be grateful for it. And I understand that message. It's a really good message to convey, especially through Buddha as the author does it. And I think it's a very, very cool dynamic for their respective fight. The happiness that was forcefully given to people versus the happiness that is naturally earned. Which are you going to be more grateful for? Zero Fuku was a wandering god who took on the pain of others and then just left. He never left any guidance. He never told them to stay happy. He never did anything like that. He just popped up, took away some happiness, and not took away some happiness, took away some misfortune and kept it moving. And while I guess that makes sense in his concept, I guess he's supposed to be a lucky god, so it's just a quick burst of luck. You feel better, you're happier, you aren't in pain anymore. I guess it makes sense that he would believe in something like that, but I wonder, like, what did he really expect? Like, I guess he doesn't know humans that well, because when we meet him at the beginning of his backstory, it seems like he's freshly almost created or something like that. Maybe not created, but this is his first time entering out into the human world. But he's of a decent enough age already to know what his powers are and what he can do. So he takes on the misfortune of people. Another interesting thing to note is that when he takes on the misfortune, he gets injured, or like the pain goes to him, but not in the exact same way. So when the kid's chest is hurting, he absorbs it through his hand, and then the pain is stuck in his hand. Like, it doesn't travel up through his chest. And I also think it's actually kind of cool that the kid's chest was hurting, and then the hole that opens up on Zero is in his chest. I think that's a really cool little detail. And then we see afterwards, he's run himself ragged. Like, he's actually absorbed way too much misfortune from all of humanity, because apparently he traveled a lot. Wherever he found misfortune, after multiple years and many months, he came back, and we see that he's kind of consumed by misfortune and despair, and he was suffering, and his entire temple has basically been destroyed. It's been run down because he wasn't there to take care of it. He couldn't find his own happiness, so he went on to make sure everyone else had happiness. And you see him suffering. And what intrigues me is that it sort of alludes that all of this hatred that he built up isn't necessarily his. Like, obviously the idea that some people he took hatred from people, and that became some of his own hatred. That's cool. I like that. I like the idea that not only was he mad that all these humans just couldn't become happy even after he forcefully made them happy, or took away their misfortune, not necessarily made them happy. He's also mad because of what Buddha does. So when Buddha pulls up after he sees the whole town he saved just grew up, forgot about him, and used his temporary happiness from his removal of misfortune to keep it moving, and he sees the one kid he healed first, the first child he ever healed, just move him by. Like, wait, does he literally kick him? Hold on, let me see. Does he kick him down? No, he doesn't kick him down. Oh wait, no, yeah. He's literally standing there in the way. The kid he helped save knocks him over, looks at him, says, "Ew, you're disgusting, get out of here," and spits on his corpse. Not his corpse, but spits on him. And like, that has to be the ultimate insult. I understand that. And you can sort of see where he starts to transform into Zero, like the Zero we know, the dark harbinger of destruction. But he like gets held back, mainly because he sees a whole bunch of humans, and then he's he's reminded of his initial purpose. And the thing that I like here is that somewhere inside him, this is alluding to the later point in the chapter, somewhere inside him, he still cares fundamentally for humans. He's like, I still need to make these people happy, no matter how much pain it causes me, and no matter how much it's gonna just go away. Because he's realized that all of his work for happiness was pretty much pointless. So he was basically wrong, but he doesn't want to accept that. He thinks in his role as a god, he needs to do what he believes is right, no matter how wrong he sees it is. And then he just gets bamboozled because he sees Buddha just chilling with all these run ragged people, all these people that seem to be in such despair physically, but in terms of mentally, they're all happy. They're all beaming with joy. And you see that Buddha has kept the same look. So this is a Buddha that's already achieved like some form of enlightenment, because he has the sharp teeth, he has the glasses. I wonder, he probably doesn't have the t-shirt or the tank top under there, but it'd be hilarious if he did. So we see all of this. And then we see another interesting thing to note. The people around town like feel a bit embarrassed. Like, they look at all the things they were doing and they just put it down. They stop. They pull their shirts back on. They stop fighting each other, because it's like, wow, how are we like in this perfect healthy state and we're all missing something, and yet these people are happy? And Zero asks the same question. He's like, hold on, buddy. What the heck? Why are these humans so happy? Oh, run ragged. They look nasty. What happened? What are you doing? And he literally explains that, yo, I literally tried to take away all their misfortune. I tried to take away their sadness. Why aren't they happy? How come they aren't happy, even though all your nasty, full of misfortune people are extremely happy? And Buddha literally just hits him with the, are you stupid, bro? Like, if you... And that's the thing. It goes back to the lesson that I like. He goes to the simple idea that you can't just give happiness to people. They need to work for it on their own. Whatever they do, finding happiness, they find happiness in. And I like how Buddha is still like a pretty nice guy here. Like, he tries to be a guide to Zerofuku. He's literally perfectly happy with taking Zerofuku in, because he doesn't, I guess he can't tell he's a god. And to be fair, Zerofuku is run pretty ragged. And the thing is, he's like, you want to come reach a light with me, pal? Like, bud, come on now. You want to come roll through? And then you see all these people that Zerofuku once saved or once assisted all start bowing to Buddha-sama. Like, they're just all so happy to see him. And they're like, yeah, we'll follow this man, instead of Zerofuku, the man who literally took away all our despair. And you can see this, like, breaks the entire mental structure of Zerofuku. And he runs off crying. And, like, this is where the disrespect starts to come in. Like, the thing is, I like this backstory on its face. Like, I like the idea that he just felt bad because he did his job wrong, essentially. Like, oh, something that he wanted to do so badly, he just couldn't end up doing because of what happened. The idea that he just had no idea what to do properly, and he tried to give humans happiness in the most artificial way possible. And it was just wrong. So he goes off, he runs off, he cries, and he tried so hard and got so far. But in the end, it just didn't even matter. And then he transforms. He transforms fully into Zero. And I can't really tell Like, when does his chest open? Does it simply open when the darkness starts to swirl into him and he transforms? This is what I'm assuming. Like, you see all the different human faces and malignances, they all swirl deeper into Zero, and this is what produces his dark state, like his dark mirror state, and then we get to see what Zero actually is. And by that, I mean he's the 7 deadly sins combined into like the ultimate sin, I suppose. The ultimate things of humanity that need to be purified to reach happiness and enlightenment, and he's all 7 of those things, and that's why he splits into 7 gods. And another thing that I like is still, despite how much he's focused on murder, literally like he says, man, that really took a load off. You know what? I think it's time to commit murder. And I'm perfectly fine with the idea that somewhere deep inside him, he still cares for humans. Like deep down. Like he was about to attack this random traveling group of humans, but this mother goes to defend their child, and it confuses him like, wait, what? A human? And then he's like, so then he sees the baby, and like you can see he's fighting his instincts, because the baby is like, whoa, what the heck is that? And he reaches out for him, and he's holding back. He holds back so much that he literally reaches into his chest and then splits himself into the 7 different people, or I guess the 7 different sins. And honestly, maybe because I'm slow, I'm assuming I can't really guess like all of them, because they could all be interchangeable, I guess. I'm not sure which ones could be which sin, but obviously each one is their own respective sin, and they wander off and become the 7 lucky gods, or the 8 lucky gods in technicality, and that's where the legend begins. And then, of course, we get to see this is the thing that disappoints me the most about the chapter. Buddha just casually like bullies Zero, and this is what everyone expected. Well, that's the thing. We were all either, one of the 2 things were going to happen. We either expected Buddha to get bodied or Zero to get bodied, and Zero got bodied. One kick, all of that mess about divine retribution, all the hype, all of it went away, and Buddha literally asked, "Who are you again?" Because Zero's fodder. And that's the main issue I have. Like, I understand, like, the way that it's done makes Zero's backstory seem so, like, petty and childish. And considering he looked like a child, he probably had the mindset of a child, it makes sense. But, like, if you had just kept it that he had fallen to despair with, like, no Buddha involved, and he just had seen that all of his work was for naught, and he like suffers and goes off, maybe not run off crying, but like wander off into the woods, like slowly beginning his destructive nature, like tearing through trees and stuff like that. And then he buries his head underwater, and then he receives rebirth into this darker Zero. And then we get why he has fallen to darkness, because he absorbed all the misfortune of humanity. Then I'd rock with that. What makes me not rock with his backstory as much is the idea that he was just a crybaby. Like, Buddha was literally a chill dude who didn't really care. He was just guiding people to happiness one way or another, and he offered Zero help, like, yeah, I'm showing you the right path, come on buddy, or like, I'm showing you a different way that you can try, you're immortal, why not work with it? And Zero just runs off like a baby, screaming and crying. And then he becomes dark emo teenage Zero, and like, I guess that's maybe the point. Maybe the point is that it's not supposed to be like super deep, or not, that's because like the idea I offer isn't even super deep or complex. It's just a natural progression of what Zero was going through, especially with the way he was absorbing the misfortune. So I don't know, I'm kind of disappointed in his backstory. Like, I would have expected something smoother. I'm glad that it connects our 2 fighters. I'm glad that Zero and Buddha have met in the past, but that all gets blown away by Buddha not even remembering who Zero is, which makes sense. Buddha's run into a lot of people, and he interacted with Zero for a whole, like, at most 5 minutes. So I'm not even mad at Buddha for not actually remembering. Like, a lot of people are talking about the disrespect of Buddha, and while it is disrespectful, I think the more disrespectful thing is that he takes this person who's filled with so much hatred and anger towards him, and he just kicks him in the stomach, leaves him hung over, and then asks who he is. I think the disrespect comes from how casually he bodies him, rather than the disrespect coming from him actually being disrespectful and not remembering who he is, because they met for such a short time. This whole vendetta that Zero has is extremely one-sided, and thus is not that interesting. Like, a more interesting fight dynamic would have been Buddha, not no, because this is a super interesting fight dynamic. Happiness that is given to you versus happiness that is earned, and which is more valuable. And like, worth, it's basically worth that is given to you, or worth that is earned, which is more valuable. And the obvious answer, based on what happens in the chapter quite literally, is happiness that is earned. And that makes sense. It's logical, seems perfectly valid. Only thing is, I really didn't want this fight to be a curb stomp. That's what it's implied to be, considering Zero nearly, he doesn't get one shot, like, he's not even really bleeding, but he's holding his, wait, is he holding his stomach? Yeah, he's literally holding his stomach in pain and grunting after one casual standing kick from Buddha. How am I supposed to believe that he's going to do anything when Buddha actually swings that kata? I don't think he's gonna do anything. That's the thing. Now this fight has become, well, might as well end it because all the tension's gone. Like, I admittedly lost respect for Zero towards the back end of his backstory anyway because of how childish it seemed, especially how childish his vendetta seemed, and how this was a god that seemed so hyped up and cool for the moment, but then when he finally returns, he ends up kind of whack. Then we finally see the actual fight begin, and it's just Buddha so casually dominating him, and that's the thing. I'm not the biggest fan of that. Here's the thing. I hope Zero, this is like Zero warming up. And I hope his abilities either... Okay, I'm just gonna be straight up with y'all. I kind of want a Majin Buu scenario. Like, all that flexibility, all his ability to rework his own body and stuff like that, and the ability to pull weapons out of himself. I'm hoping that the axe, 1, isn't the only weapon, and 2, I'm hoping that he can start to use that more to himself. Like, Buddha is like... Here. There it is. It's much like a Goku and Vegeta versus Broly in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. Like, Zero is extremely weak right now. 1, because this is the first time he's reformed in probably millennia, and secondly, because he just hasn't adapted yet. But considering he's able to adapt to all the misfortunes of humanity by absorbing them and then using their power for his own, I'm hoping that Buddha, like, starts mopping him. Like in chapter 46, Buddha just keeps swinging on him, and he keeps just asking, who are you, as he keeps bodying Zero. But one moment, Zero adapts, and he catches the Gata. Or maybe not even catches it, but he dodges. And he starts learning, and he starts adapting. And like, Buddha's actually forced on the back foot. I'd be fine with that, because we haven't really gotten that in Record of Ragnarok so far. We haven't had really adaptive-based fighters. We had... Technically, Jack was very adaptive, but his was all strategy. Adam was simply a copy. We look at Sasaki. Sasaki was a defensive guy purely based on dodging and then attacking when he could. And then Thor and Lubu was just power versus power. So I would be super interested to see a character who stands so much above another character in the sense of Buddha, due to his higher ideology, going against the forced ideology of happiness through gift. The idea that you can get happiness through someone giving it to you, and that happiness or that misfortune that comes from the inability to truly understand happiness slowly adapting and sort of kind of consuming Buddha, in a sense that Zero Fuku sort of works his way around Buddha's fighting style and just grows to match him power-wise. Because no offense to Zero, but if you're hawking over and doing that much from one standing kick from a man in his flip-flops, I can't imagine what would happen if he actually swung on you with that gigantic hammer of his. So I don't know what Zero's gonna do. If Zero's just gonna get bodied, I'm kind of not very intrigued. I won't even lie to you. I think that'd be kind of boring. But if Zero begins to adapt, if Zero begins to grow, if Zero begins to evolve and realize his true power, considering he never actually got to exercise it because he was literally about to go on a murderous rampage only to stop himself, I would be very intrigued if Zero had a ton of latent potential, like I said, on that Broly type beat, where he just started adapting to Buddha, and Buddha actually had a fun fight to watch. To be fair, I still want Buddha to win, because humanity's down bad right now, but I still actually want a good, decent fight, and not just a curb stomp. Because I know none of the fights have been curb stomps up to this point, so a curb stomp wouldn't be too bad to watch, but I would actually prefer another really good fight. So please, Zero, start adapting. Buddha, please let Zero adapt. Senseis, please give us an actually really good fight rather than just a curb stomp. But that's all I'm asking. What do you guys think? Did you like the chapter? Do you like Zero's backstory? Do you think I'm being a little bit too harsh on him? Do you think that you want it to be a curb stomp? Do you actually want another fight? What do you guys think? Do you think my adaptive Zero idea, or like the latent potential Zero idea, is a cool one, or do you think it's dumb? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.